They started a feud over my kids' sidewalk chalk drawings, calling them graffiti. Smirking, they said, "This isn't an art school." Their partner mocked, "Keep your kids' mess inside." I whispered, "You just messed with the wrong parent." They were publicly shamed when I hosted a community art day that got media attention. I never thought a simple activity with my kids would spark such a neighborhood feud. We live in a quiet suburb of San Antonio, Texas, where families take pride in their homes and community. Our street is lined with well-kept lawns and sidewalks, making it a safe place for children to play. My two kids, Jake, 7, and Lily, 5, love drawing with sidewalk chalk. They create colorful pictures of animals, flowers, and their favorite cartoon characters on the pavement in front of our house. It's a harmless pastime that keeps them engaged and happy. One afternoon, as the kids were busy drawing, our neighbors, the Harrisons, walked by. Mr. Harrison is a retired military officer, and Mrs. Harrison is known for her strict adherence to neighborhood rules. They stopped and watched the kids for a moment before approaching me. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. "Excuse me, but we've noticed your children have been drawing on the sidewalk." I smiled, thinking they were going to compliment the kids' artwork. "Yes, they love expressing their creativity. It's all washable and will come off with the next rain." Mrs. Harrison frowned. "This isn't an art school. Sidewalks are public property, and this graffiti is unsightly." I was taken aback. "Graffiti? They're just children's drawings. They'll fade away soon." Mr. Harrison's voice hardened. "Rules are rules. We prefer to keep the neighborhood tidy. Perhaps you could encourage your kids to keep their mess inside." I felt a surge of anger but kept my composure. "I understand your concerns. I'll talk to the kids." As they walked away, I couldn't help but feel frustrated. My children were simply enjoying themselves, and their drawings brought smiles to many of our neighbors. Why were the Harrisons making such a big deal out of it? That evening, I discussed the situation with my husband. He suggested we find a way to address the Harrisons' concerns while still allowing our kids to express themselves. After some thought, I came up with an idea: a community art day where all the neighborhood children could come together and create chalk art on the sidewalks. This way, it would be a collective activity, and perhaps the Harrisons would see the value in it. The next day, I spoke with some of our neighbors, and they loved the idea. We decided to host the event the following Saturday. Flyers were made and distributed, and we created a social media event to spread the word. As the week progressed, excitement grew. Local businesses offered to donate supplies and refreshments. Even the local news caught wind of the event and expressed interest in covering it. However, not everyone was pleased. The Harrisons were visibly unhappy about the upcoming event. They voiced their disapproval to other neighbors and even tried to rally support to cancel it. Despite their efforts, the majority of the community was in favor, and plans moved forward. On the day of the event, families gathered on our street. Children of all ages took to the sidewalks with chalk in hand, creating beautiful and imaginative artworks. Laughter and chatter filled the air as parents and kids collaborated on their pieces. The local news arrived, interviewing participants and capturing footage of the vibrant sidewalk art. One reporter approached me for an interview. "What inspired you to organize this event?" she asked. I smiled, watching Jake and Lily engrossed in their drawings. "It started with my kids wanting to express themselves. I realized that fostering creativity brings people together. This event is a testament to the power of community and art." The segment aired that evening, showcasing our neighborhood's unity and creativity. The positive feedback was overwhelming, with messages pouring in from neighboring communities expressing interest in hosting similar events. In the days that followed, the Harrisons became noticeably reclusive. The public support for the art day had inadvertently highlighted their earlier opposition, leading to subtle but palpable social consequences. A week later, as I was watering the garden, Mrs. Harrison approached hesitantly. "Hello," she began softly. "Mrs. Harrison," I acknowledged, setting the hose down. "I wanted to apologize for our earlier Rigidity, she said, avoiding eye contact. We didn't anticipate the positive impact. I nodded, appreciating her effort. It's important for communities to evolve and embrace creativity. She sighed. Change is hard for us old folks. But perhaps it's time we tried. From that day on, the neighborhood embraced a newfound appreciation for art and expression. The sidewalks became ever-changing galleries, reflecting the community's dynamic spirit. And as for the Harrisons, they began to participate, with Mr. Harrison even showcasing a hidden talent for sketching. What started as a simple activity with my kids turned into a movement that brought our community closer together, teaching us all the value of openness, creativity, and unity. Things were going well for a while after the event. People were still talking about it. The sidewalks stayed colorful for weeks, and neighbors started waving more, smiling more. Kids were outside more often, drawing and laughing. Even the Harrisons seemed to mellow out. Mr. Harrison actually stopped by once and complimented a chalk dragon Jake had drawn. I thought that was a turning point. But of course, peace never lasts forever. About 3 weeks after the Community Art Day, the trouble started again. It was small at first. Someone left a passive-aggressive note taped to our mailbox. Sidewalks are not for your children's mess. Not everyone appreciates your art. Stop trying to turn this neighborhood into a circus. Typed. No signature. No handwriting to trace. Real mature. I crumpled it up and tossed it. But then we got another one. And another. Same font, same tone, always unsigned. They showed up on a few other neighbors' doors too, the ones who had helped plan the art day. One of them, Rachel, found one in her mailbox with the words, "You're bringing down our property values." It wasn't hard to figure out who was behind them. We didn't have to guess. Still, we kept things calm. No one wanted to escalate it. Until things actually escalated. One morning, I walked outside and found the entire sidewalk in front of our house scrubbed clean, not by rain, but by force. Someone had poured bleach and scrubbed off all the chalk. Jake's dinosaur mural? Gone. Lily's butterflies? Gone. The smell hit me before I even got to the curb. The sidewalk was streaky and rough from harsh scrubbing. Even our lawn looked damaged where the bleach had run off. I stood there for a long time. Not angry. Not sad. Just still. That kind of quiet rage where your hands shake and your vision gets tunnel-like. I didn't call the police. That wouldn't do much. And honestly, I wanted something bigger. So I made a few calls. I knew someone from the local news, the same reporter who covered our art day. I told her everything. The anonymous notes. The scrubbing. The bleach. She was interested. Very interested. Then I talked to Rachel and a few other neighbors who'd also gotten notes. We all agreed this wasn't about chalk anymore. This was about someone trying to control the neighborhood through fear. We planned something bigger. We called it Chalk the Block. Instead of just our street, we invited the whole community, people from the local schools, churches, small businesses. We pulled permits this time, so everything was official and untouchable. We made it a full-day event. Food trucks, music, even a contest for the best sidewalk art judged by a local artist. And then I did something bold. I printed all the anonymous notes, big, full color, and I framed them. I set them up on easels right next to our info booth at the event. The title above them? What some people think of your kids' art. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. The tone was enough. Everyone knew who had sent them. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison didn't come outside that day, but they were watching from their windows. I saw the blinds twitch every time someone walked by. The day was a massive hit. Hundreds showed up. The mayor even stopped by. Media coverage? Wall-to-wall. Local news, online blogs, even a regional segment picked it up. But just when I thought we had turned the tables and finally moved past the drama, the real twist hit. 3 days after the event, I got a letter in the mail. Not an anonymous one. A real one. Signed, sealed, and delivered by an attorney. It was from the Harrisons. They were suing for defamation of character. apparently displaying the anonymous notes and implying they wrote them, which, let's be clear, no one proved, was grounds for legal action. They claimed their reputation had been damaged, that they'd been harassed and emotionally distressed by the attention. I laughed out loud when I read it, not because it was funny, because it was absurd. But then the worry kicked in. I'd never been sued before. I didn't know what to expect. And part of me, deep down, wondered, had I gone too far? I got in touch with a lawyer friend. He reviewed everything. The notes, the public event, the statements. He said it was a scare tactic. A weak one, but still, it needed to be handled properly. So I prepared. And just when I thought I was going to have to settle this in court, another twist came, one that really changed everything. Someone slipped a USB drive into our mailbox. No note this time, just a small flash drive in a Ziploc bag. I plugged it into an old laptop, making sure it was safe. It was video. A security cam recording. From a doorbell cam a few houses down the street. The footage was clear. It showed Mr. Harrison, clear as day, scrubbing our sidewalk at 4:17 a.m. With a bucket. With gloves. Pouring something from a bottle. Bleach. It wasn't just proof. It was gold. I sat back in my chair, eyes wide, heart pounding. I didn't know who had sent it. I didn't care. The game had just changed. And now? Now it was my move. So, yeah. I had the footage. Crystal clear. Time-stamped. You could even hear his grunting while he scrubbed like a man on a mission. Mr. Harrison, out there before dawn, attacking children's art with bleach like it personally offended him. I showed it to my lawyer. His reaction? A mix of a laugh and a long whistle. This is your ace. If they try to move forward with the defamation suit, this ends them. He advised me to sit tight, let them make the next move. If they pushed forward with the lawsuit, we'd counterclaim with vandalism, harassment, and actual defamation. And here's where things got even more wild. A week passed. No new notes. No word from the lawyer representing the Harrisons. Just silence. Then I got a knock on the door. It wasn't Mr. or Mrs. Harrison. It was their daughter. I'd seen her a few times, maybe in her mid-30s, lives out of town. She visited maybe twice a year. Always polite. Never involved in drama. She looked exhausted. "I'm sorry to show up like this," she said. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" I invited her in. She didn't waste time. She pulled out a folder and set it on my table. Inside were copies of the same anonymous notes I had received, but some were different. Some were older. Notes criticizing her parenting, her clothing, even her choice of car. They were written by her mother. She had kept them. And she was tired of it. "I know my parents can be controlling," she said. "But they've gone too far. I warned them not to push this lawsuit. I tried to stop them. They wouldn't listen. So now I'm showing you this. I'm done covering for them." She had one more thing for me. Another video. This one? Mr. Harrison printing the notes. Same font. Same paper. His own home printer. Caught on her phone when she visited last year. Apparently, he used the same complaint template for decades. I was stunned. And honestly, I felt a bit sick. This man had been playing judge and jury over this entire neighborhood for years. His daughter looked me dead in the eyes and said, "They think they're untouchable. They're not. Use what you need." Before she left, she said something else. "There's more. A lot more. But I'll only share it if this turns ugly." 2 days later, the lawsuit was quietly dropped. No apology. No explanation. Just dropped. But by then, word had already started to spread. See, the news had been very interested in Chalk the Block. They were still following up with families for a follow-up piece. I hadn't sent them the video yet, but I did let it accidentally get mentioned during a casual conversation with the reporter. 3 days later, another story hit the local station. Chalk vandal identified in leaked footage, backlash grows in quiet Texas suburb. They didn't name him. But they didn't need to. Neighbors knew. The HOA president knew. The local art group that had been so inspired by our sidewalk project, they pulled their planned donation to the Neighborhood Improvement Fund. Guess who had been in charge of it? Mr. Harrison. And then, the final twist for now. An HOA meeting was called. Emergency session. I didn't plan to go. I figured they'd sweep it all under the rug. Typical suburban politics. But neighbors urged me. Rachel even came by and said, "You have to be there." So I showed up. It was standing room only. The HOA board sat stiffly at the front. Mr. Harrison was there too, arms crossed, stone-faced. Then someone stood up, Mrs. Davila, who lived 2 houses down. Retired teacher. Never caused a stir in her life. She walked right to the microphone and said, "I move that we vote on removing George Harrison from the HOA committee immediately, effective tonight." Gasps. Murmurs. But no one stopped her. People started raising hands. 1 by 1. Then 2 by 2. Then it was unanimous. Mr. Harrison stood up, furious. "You can't do this. You have no authority," he was interrupted. By the HOA president herself. "Yes, George. We do. And this community has spoken." He stormed out. Mrs. Harrison followed, looking like she had swallowed a lemon. And me? I just sat there. Didn't say a word. Didn't need to. Because sometimes the best revenge is letting people destroy themselves when the truth comes out. But something still nags at me. That folder. What else was in there? And what exactly did their daughter mean by "there's more"? Harrison got booted from the HOA. The sidewalk was full of art again. Kids playing, people talking, waving, laughing. But I couldn't let it rest. Not fully. Because that folder the daughter left? I kept thinking about it. There was more in there. Stuff I didn't look at right away. I figured it was just old grievances, maybe family drama. But one night, curiosity got me. I opened it, and I wasn't ready for what I saw. There were screenshots of emails. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. From Mr. Harrison. Complaints to the city. Complaints to schools. Complaints to child services. Yeah. He had tried to report me before. Twice. Once because my kids were unsupervised, they were in our own yard. Another time for creating a public disturbance, which was, I kid you not, just them laughing too loud while playing tag. He had actually tried to get CPS involved over sidewalk chalk and kid giggles. That was the final nail for me. I called the same reporter who had covered Chalk the Block. I didn't give her everything, but I gave her enough. The bleach footage. The printed notes. 1 or 2 emails. I made sure they weren't legally risky. She ran with it. Not local this time. It blew up. Twitter caught it. Reddit caught it. Even national blogs started sharing it. Within days, his name was everywhere. Not just in our town. He had always been proud of his clean reputation, his military background, his leadership. But now, the internet labeled him what he was, a bully with too much time and no heart. The worst part? His daughter messaged me after the article dropped. All she wrote was, "Thank you. It needed to happen." But not all of it felt good. Because here's where I messed up. The exposure was too big. Way bigger than I meant it to be. People started showing up on his lawn. Teens tagging his driveway with chalk rainbows and "let kids draw." Someone egged his porch. That wasn't me. That wasn't anyone I knew. But it happened. He went outside yelling one night, trying to chase a group of high schoolers away. He tripped. Broke his wrist. And guess who got blamed? Me. Rumors spread. That I had sent people. That I was the one who leaked his personal info online. I didn't. Some said I was doing it for fame, for likes, for attention. One local Facebook moms group even posted, maybe the real bully wasn't George. It stung, because they weren't totally wrong. I hadn't stopped the hate train once it started. I had quietly sat back and let it roll over him. And when it got ugly, I didn't speak up. Because, deep down, I liked seeing him fall. He tried to ruin something pure and good. He tried to shame kids. He tried to scare people into silence. But I let things go too far. Now, the Harrisons put their house up for sale. Big, for sale, sign out front. Price dropped twice already. They barely come outside anymore. My kids still draw on the sidewalk. But it's different now. Quieter. A little more careful. I learned something through all this. Yes, sometimes you need to stand up. Sometimes you need to fight back. But revenge? It doesn't always stop when you want it to. Sometimes it keeps going. Sometimes it changes you, even if you started with good intentions. And when that line blurs, you have to live with it. I got justice. But I also got blood on my hands. That's the truth. That's how it ended. And I wouldn't do it the same way again.